Hello, and thank you for joining me today. This video is sponsored by me. I hope you will enjoy the video. So I put out a poll recently, and that poll was to basically ask about what should be the first YouTube video I should make. And it was very unanimous that everyone wanted a basically explanation of the universe that King Teronos and all the other kaiju live in. So, I took some time to put all my thoughts together so that I can put it into this video for you. So, let's go back to the beginning. That would be back in 2010, September of 2010 to be exact. I was in the second year of college at Ivy Tech. I was taking a course in art history. But this doesn't take place in art history class though. It actually takes place in English literature. I was on my phone and going through a website known as DeviantArt, which some people claim it's dead, some people claim it's still alive. I really don't know, but I still have one. I was following some many great artists and seeing many original character kaiju. And as I sat there, I thought to myself, hey, I want to make a kaiju of my own that will be close to, or if just as famous as these other kaiju artists. So, sitting there in the classroom, waiting for my late professor to show up, King Teronos, Dronos, Amarga, and Dylus were born. Funny to think back now, and I do laugh to myself about this. This whole thing technically just started because I too wanted to be one of the greatest or greats in the OC kaiju community. Oh well, I digress. So, at first, King Teronos was just another copy of a kaiju who started it all. Who? Why, Godzilla himself, of course. But then, that was immediately scrapped. It then became a made-up dinosaur, still in line with Godzilla, and its DNA that was radiated and injected into its closest living relative. A lizard that I have long since forgotten what it was originally, and thus made King Teronos. The storyline stuck for several years. King Teronos underwent several other changes during this time as well. But after a while, I was not liking the fact that my kaiju was ending up, like everyone else's, where it was just a shadow of Godzilla. So, I changed him and his storyline again. This time, he was a massive, well, I don't know what to make him. So I looked at the design that I had made at the time, and looked at the spiny tail that I did have on him. I was like, well, let's see if there's any lizards that have a spiny tail. And to my surprise, I found that there was. They are known as the Eurymastix lizards. So, with some thought, I made King Teronos a massive Eurymastix lizard. Once I did that, I had to find a way to explain his size, which KT kept growing in size as well, somewhat, to basically compete with the other OC kaiju who were still dwarfing him by several hundred meters. I never really came up with a storyline though, except that he was born on an island that was hit by radiation. Now, after speaking with Zimzilla, another account here on YouTube, who I am going to put right up there to show you guys that he made a video on my kaiju King Teronos way back when. And he did an analysis on him, and like I said, it's right up there. You can take a look. But after seeing his video, though, it actually started to make me think. Where am I going with him? What am I doing with him? How do I explain his ridiculous size and how he's upright? Many good questions that had no answers. Then I remembered. There was, well, a film that I saw back in 1998. Yes, it was Godzilla. But it was the 1998 Godzilla film. And I remember seeing that when I was a kid, and I was rather fascinated with the film. Now, I understand that in the Godzilla community and in the fan base, the film has gotten quite a bit of a divided crowd. Either those who say it was good, or those who say it really wasn't. It's not Godzilla himself. Whichever side you're on, you can have that side. I, for one, have to say, and I will put this in really quick, that yes, the film Godzilla is not really Godzilla himself. This is more just a hand-me-down. However, I will say, for a monster film, though, it's a pretty darn good monster film. But for those who haven't seen the film, Godzilla was a massive reptile and was born on an island that had been in the middle of French nuclear testing of weapons and bombs. So I went to work making a storyline based rather lightly around that concept. But going further back in time, the 1940s, when the H-bomb was first tested. I won't go any further than that on this, since, it kind of will start to give spoilers to my first comic, which I did do a shameful plug on, which is known as Teronos Origins, and keep a lookout for that. The universe. So as I mentioned before, that is, I made King Teronos look more like the real-world lizard, just bigger. Well, I went with the real-world setting. Now, when I mean real-world, I mean events and things that have happened in true history and modern day, but with the sci-fi element that allows giant monsters to exist. Well, to further explain what I said earlier about trying to explain these massive creatures and the fact that King Teronos and the other kaiju were constantly getting bigger, I had to take a step back from that. I sat down and said to myself, how do I really explain modern reptiles that grew to 100+ meters and are towering, hulking beasts? Radiation alone isn't enough to explain that away. So I decided, very recently, to shrink them down to a more reasonable size. Most of the kaiju are anywhere between 55 to 85+ meters. This allows my kaiju to have a more personal touch to them and to allow them to interact with human characters more. The way I compare this is to ants. Now we, the humans, are kaiju-sized compared to the ants. There are many different species of ants in our world. 2 I will be using in this analogy. There are the big, black carpenter ants, and the small black ants that you may normally see at picnics. Carpenter ants are big enough that they are easy to notice and deal with. The small picnic ants are so small you hardly know they are there unless there is a lot of them. See where I'm going with this? The small black ants are what humans look like to the 100+ meter kaiju, whereas the carpenter ants are the size of humans compared to kaiju that are 50 meters and up. Now, when it comes down to the typical kaiju abilities, yes, they have a power breath. But these are not like what Godzilla and most other kaiju have. So, let me explain. Godzilla can continuously belch out his blue radiation beam. Other OC kaiju can keep their power breath going for long periods of time. My kaiju can't. Their power breath is more along the lines of last resort, and it is exhausted rather quickly. Once used, the body has to replenish what has been used, and depending upon the kaiju, it could take time. So, my kaiju heavily depend upon their claws and other physical weapons, like tails or horns or spikes, etc. My kaiju are also more animalistic than other kaiju. Now, that is not to say that they have personalities. Every living animal has a personality. What I'm saying is my kaiju are more along the lines of primal. I can go on, but this is just snippets of information. Maybe I'll do an extended live stream to explain further in the future? Not really sure. Thank you for watching, and hopefully this was able to help explain a bit further about my kaiju and the world they live in. If you liked this video, please leave a like, and please consider to subscribe to my channel. It will really help me out a lot. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and I also have a Discord, consider following me and joining for more King Teronos news.